What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and in this video we'll be talking about Edge Definitive. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, excuse me. And let's get into it. Okay, here we are. It is the 26th day of October. 38.1 cents right now, 5 hours 51 minutes left in this day, and you know, hit that like button, especially if you saw this move coming, right? If you've been watching the videos, we put out probably like 3 over the past week talking about how we were expecting this move to happen. I want you all to take something away from this video right now, and this will take 2 seconds right now, what we're about to do, okay? We don't have to get that deep into the video, but if you took nothing else away from this video besides this, I think you would stand to gain a lot of value, let's just say, especially in the future. If you're looking at the MACD specifically, and this MACD, this is not a special MACD. It's nothing special. Let's just go here, right? I'm going to delete it, right? We delete it there. I'm going to bring up the indicators here and put on the MACD. Where is it? Moving average, convergence, divergence, MACD. There it is. Boom. There it is. It's nothing special. It's just the standard average default MACD. You look at this MACD, and let's delete the other things real quick, okay? That way it's less distracting. There's less noise, okay? You look at the MACD, and you're on a daily time frame. Specifically, this setup has to be on a daily or a weekly time frame, where the histogram, which is the bars, right? The histogram is the green stuff. The oscillators are the lines, okay? The histogram, whenever you get a deep reading like this, and you get a more shallow reading, and then a more shallow reading, and then an even more shallow reading, you're getting higher lows, and the price is giving you lower lows. This is what's called bullish divergence, right? In this setup, there's bullish divergence that can play out at any kind of time, right? Here you've got this high, here you've got that low, here you've got that low, and right there, boom, bullish divergence could play out. You know, it could play out. You never know. And that's great. That's a good setup in itself. But when you have something that's been diverging like this for so long, so very long, and not only that, you're right at a place where there's prior resistance and you're finding support, I hope everybody takes this example and stores it in their memory somewhere so that when you see it, because this doesn't happen often, I want you to understand that this setup is a dream. It's a fantastic situation. And every time I've capitalized on a situation like this, every single time it has worked out. Every single time. And it's probably not a 100% flawless kind of thing. There are probably going to be moments in the future where this setup comes along and it bites me in the butt, you know. But 90% of the time or more, from my experience, it's 100% of the time. But probably there's going to be times where it's not perfect. It works out. It works out really well. And I've been talking about Edge now. I want to say this is the third video we've made in like the past week. We were talking about it down here. We saw this pump coming. We saw this pump coming a mile away, and it's the MACD specifically that led us to believe this. We've called 3 different projects to pump recently. KTA was one of them. Edge Definitive is the next one. And what was the other one? It had a similar, I can't remember which one it was. But there was, if you guys hear that crying, that's just my toddler screaming at my wife. I think they're okay, though. She's probably just upset that she's not eating Halloween candy right now. But she's had enough candy today, darn it. Anyways, there was another coin. I can't remember what it was, but there's been a few coins over the past week that we've called Toshi. Was it Toshi? They've had, it wasn't Toshi. What was the other coin? It had this setup. We had KTA. I can't remember, but I don't want to get stuck on this. This setup has not failed us at all, and there's been a few coins over the past couple weeks that we've called to move up in spectacular fashion, and we timed them appropriately because of this setup. So beyond just patting ourselves on the back and buttering the bread there, I want to talk about where this price is going to go. But again, we focused on that so much because it's pretty flawless, guys. It's pretty damn flawless. And I'm not saying to expect that 100% of the time it's going to work out. Don't sell the farm and put all your money, all your chips on something that looks like this. But if you do, it's probably going to work out. But don't bet the farm. Never bet the farm on just one thing. Anyways, all I'm trying to say here is from a high to a low, we measure using the Fibonacci retracement tool here. You can see that we are above the 382. Now, it's very common with the first interaction of the 382, and this is our first interaction, right? From a high to a low, since this low, this is the first time interacting with this level. It's very common to get tied up here. What you'll see is a wick above the 382, and then you close below it. If we do happen to close below the 382, likely, statistically speaking, probably, we'll go back to the 236 and then go up to the golden ratio. Now, we don't have to do that. We are in a very bullish kind of circumstance right now, so we could keep pushing higher. I want to explain something real quick. It's statistically unlikely that we break through the golden ratio without having some kind of turbulence, okay? And then we can try again later, and then we break through it, right? If we do break through it, again, it's statistically unlikely, but it happens. It does happen. If we do break through it, it's increasingly statistically unlikely that we break through this area. Okay, so if we do continue to push from here to 53 to 59 cents, we likely stop there, and then we'll pull back likely to this exact area to find support and then continue to rally. Likely being the key word here. I hope you can hear. If we don't do this likely thing, then the unlikely thing is here. The much more likely thing would be that we find resistance here then. And again, probably still pull back to that same area to find support. It's very common, whether it's the golden ratio, whether it's 786, 886, but it depends, right? If we go to the golden ratio first, find support here, and then move up, likely from this zone, we'll find support of the golden ratio and then continue to move up. Or we might just consolidate here and then move up. It's a very specific set of events, right? Whereas if we don't check with the golden ratio first and we just go up here, then we still likely do pull back to this area. I'm saying this not because I'm expecting us to go higher. I actually, at this point in time, I wouldn't be surprised if we did pull back to the 236, but in case we don't, in case we do push higher, we have that kind of schematic built out, okay? Now, it is possible that we build higher. I want to look at the 1 hour time frame and zoom out from there. At this moment, just looking at the daily time frame, I am fully anticipating a pullback to the 236. But if we look at the 1 hour and the 4 hour and it's looking good for immediate continuation, it's very, very possible that we don't go back down there, right? But again, that target is at about 31 cents, just below there, it looks like. Right, like right there, 30 and a half cents, 31 cents, whatever. Okay. Looking at the 1 hour time frame here. 1 hour, that's a lot of volume. That's a lot of volume on a pretty big wick there. It's like we tried and we came up short. Right here, you were building, you consolidated, and now you broke out, but just kidding, you didn't break out. It's kind of not good. It's kind of sus of you there, Edge. But sometimes you have these deceitful candles and you still continue to move up in the face of them. Let's look at your indicators here. Oh, right. Let's put them all back on there. There we go. So the RSI has bearish divergence. We do, right? We have high, lower high, lower high. High, slightly higher high on a closing basis, and then a higher high. That's double bearish divergence. Your volume's increasing, but you're not going anywhere. I would think that we pull back, and likely what's going to happen, watch this, right? You consolidated here. We're going to go just below that low. Make people think, oh my God, this thing's trash. What was I thinking buying the top here? It's trash. As soon as you go below that low, boom, that's where you find support, and that's where you're going to rally. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it flawlessly. And sometimes, rarely, it's less common, but sometimes, you don't actually hit the 236. Sometimes you do find support, and in which case, again, you found support down here, so perhaps you do. Perhaps you don't go all the way down to 30 and a half cents, 31 cent. Perhaps you find support at almost 32 cents or something around 33 cents, but something in this area, right? Statistically speaking, most probable that it is the red line itself. And you can wick below it. If you wick below it, if we see prices at 30 cents, this is not broken. It's not a busted thing. It's okay. It's fine. But right now, looking at the 1 hour RSI and the stochastics, you've been hot for a second. You were hot up here. You're not really making any strides higher. You tried to, but you ate it all back. It kind of makes sense to me that we'd pull back from here. But again, this thing has deceitful price action built into its nature, it seems. If by the end of this candle we're up here, then I want you to understand, like if by the time you're watching this video and you're back up at like 40 cents or more, I want you to understand you're probably making a run all the way up to your golden ratio at like 53 to 60 cents, okay? You probably do stop there. Very, very likely you do stop there. But at the moment, the call is to go back to 31 cents, give or take a half cent in either direction there, okay? The MACD has bearish divergence on the oscillators and on the histogram. The stochastics have bearish divergence. The RSI has bearish divergence. You're making moves higher with a lot of volume, but you're not going anywhere. You're wicking back down. I'm pretty confident we're going to go lower. I'm pretty confident in that. 4 hour time frame here. Very bullish RSI, very bullish stochastics, and the MACD it's immaculate. It's perfect. It's literally perfect. Something else, by the way, for the MACD people out there. I've noticed this, and this is weird. Just because I've noticed this doesn't mean that it's going to work every single time. But on the 4 hour time frame, specifically and only the 4 hour time frame does this apply. When you cross above the zero after being below it for some time, you typically consolidate right after, like as soon as you cross. If we were on the daily time frame and you were crossing above the zero, things are happening right now. It's going to be bullish. It's going to be fantastic. And look at this. That is coming. It's coming. But on the 4 hour, as soon as you cross, it's less of an immediate exciting thing and more of an immediate call to consolidate, which is what you do. And then afterwards, after that, then you have the move up. And I've actually been identifying this too. This has been calling for a lot of different cryptos. We've been calling to pump as well. On the 4-hour time frame, if you see coins that they're like at this point here where they just crossed above the zero, the big move is coming next. Okay, the big move's coming next. Just anticipate that. And that's exactly what we got here. Volume is dying off on the 4-hour time frame, and that's fine. We do have a little bit of bearish divergence on the stochastics, it looks like. A little bit of bearish divergence on the 4-hour RSI as well. But again, nothing crazy. You know, technically this divergence would call for a move back to 36 cents. Again, if we don't pull all the way back down to 32 cents, 30 cents, whatever, it's not a big deal. Who cares? But the idea here would be that we probably do consolidate a little bit more before moving higher. Daily time frame, right here at the RSI, what I'd hate to see, and just because I say that word, I don't want to say hate, what I would not appreciate would be that we come down by the end of the day, so much so that the RSI is literally right here at the overbought zone. So that if we come down, the RSI won't be here. It'll slowly come back down. And if we were right at the overbought zone, and then tomorrow's red, if we reject the overbought zone, that would be sad. Because then it's not that it puts off this growth overall. I very much believe that Edge right now is on a path higher that's going to take it to new all-time highs. But it would postpone it, right? Like instead of this being one swift move that happens here with moderate consolidation in between, if we reject this overbought zone, we'll probably have to come back to the 50, and that could promote a few days of decay. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather just see this thing continue to rip. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes you're at that area to reject, and you don't reject, you just keep pushing higher. But just something to be aware of. You know, sometimes you do close right there. And again, just because you reject doesn't mean that you're going tremendously lower. But in this overall move from here to there, because you rejected twice, you consolidated for about a week, and then you moved up higher. And I don't know about you guys, but if you're enjoying the show so far with Edge, you probably don't want to wait a week and then continue to move up. You just want to keep moving up, right? So again, avoid that if we close in the overbought zone. You don't want to close at the overbought zone or just under it, because then you can set yourself up to reject. Stochastics look bullish, MACD looks bullish, and again, the thought here with the MACD on the daily time frame, beyond just the divergence, is when you get this moment of crossing above the zero. Because look, we've had this before. We actually even look at this. We even had bullish divergence before, didn't we? And it's not as pretty as this one is, but it still works, I would imagine. Let's see. Let's go look. So look at this, right? Perfect. And again, divergence happens at any kind of. You could have bought here and be like, wow, look at that divergence, and you could have bought here. That actually would have been the low, to be fair. But it's still further, we didn't further diverge, but we just kind of went sideways here. When you crossed above the zero, which you were not above the zero at all up until this point right here. When you crossed above the zero, the immediate reaction, first off, was fantastic. It was absolutely spectacular. But what followed suit afterwards was a testament to that spectacular reaction. It really was. So just understand, as great as this is right now, as great as that was right then, there's more to come. Once we cross above the zero, there's more to come. There's a lot more to come. So this move really hasn't even gotten started yet. And now that we've all accepted that, or gotten that into our heads, drilled in, from a high to a low, the expectation of going higher would be that we see new all-time highs, and of which the targets would be anywhere from the 1272 to the 1618, something between $1.35 and $2.22, something in that area there. So 38.2 cents now. The expectation is from here, literally from here, by the end of November, that Edge would be worth another 3.5x to potentially 5.8x, something at 222 to $1.35 by the end of November. And if I'm wrong, it's not because we stopped at a lower level. It's only because we went higher, okay? But until we're above 222, I don't want to talk about higher. Screw it. Let's talk about it anyways. Let's talk about it right now. What would higher be? It'd be 325 to 382, maybe 564. You want to go higher than that, 925. Right? We can keep going higher in all these levels here, but those are probably reserved for later dates, not by the end of November, right? I think a 5x, call me crazy, is adequate for end of November expectations. But again, if you get above 222 on a daily closing basis, especially a weekly closing basis, I don't think you'd stop anywhere else until you're at 325 to about 380 there. It's very possible. I would think that is acceptable to see by the end of November, but you never know. Definitive, let's look here. Come on now. It's a very low market cap. I mean, 77.5 million, it's not a small amount of money, but that's a low market cap. You could see a 10x or more in this time. Like, we really could. It is possible to go to $5 or more by the end of November. We're going to deal with some crazy stuff, right? This This was figuring itself out. This was validation that, okay, there's something valuable here. And then this is going to be continuation of that validation. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if overall this move was representative of this move here. But do we see this growth? Do we see 325 or higher by the end of November? I think that might be reserved for December, but we'll see. We'll see, you know. And again, actually, let's run with this idea here. Hold on. Let's run with this idea. We're right here, and then from there to there, that's how long it took. If we were here, you know, at this price, and let's say we're really just starting to get going here, you know, $3 or more, we could be at above $3 by the end of November. And in which case, again, I think that's something, you know, if we were moving at that same pace, more or less, 324 to 381 might be considered, even 560, $6 itself might be considerable by the end of November. But going into the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you were worth more. Understand what we're saying here. We're building things out. We're starting low and then we're building out high. Edge, I would expect, could be anywhere from, by the end of this year, at a minimum, I want to say at a minimum, it'll be worth 562 to potentially a maximum of like $20, $18. And you can say that's crazy. 47x by the end of the year, that's crazy. It's got a low enough market cap. This is my third bull market. I've seen this happen before. I'm not saying that I'm betting it goes here, right? We talk about the top number not because that's the expectation, but because it's a range. It's a realm of expectations, right? This is just as crazy as this is. Right? You're most likely to stop somewhere in between by the end of the year. I think $10 psychological resistance sounds appropriate to me. But anyways, that's it, guys. All I'm trying to say really is, you know, learn from this setup. It's immaculate. It's amazing. It'll rarely, and it hasn't steered me wrong yet. It'll rarely steer you wrong. Don't get it confused with other things, though, man. I mean, if you're new to technical analysis, there's a way where you can think you're seeing something like this, but you're not. You know, like there's ways where it can trip you up, and sometimes you got to go through that to experience it. But very specifically, right? Lower lows in price specifically, they have to be lower lows with specifically higher lows. Okay, if here we had this histogram reading come up here and get a deeper reading, but then the next one's lower, that throws off all the divergence. It's not the same. Okay. Here, you can see that we had a red mark, a white, and then it got darker here. That's fine. Whatever. This is all one drive. That's fine. Okay. But beyond that, the key takeaway here is that Edge is really just getting started. There's a lot more to go. And if I'm wrong about the pullback, to 31 to 32 cents, here's how you prove me wrong. You ready? From a high to a low. Let's do this real quick. High to low. You prove me wrong. There's two ways, I think, to prove me wrong, okay? First and foremost, prove me wrong by, well, just getting back above this high. Get above that high, and you're likely going to go to the golden ratio. But number two, which would prove me wrong, if you close today above this 382, then I'm wrong. If you close above 38 cents today in the next 5 hours and 34 minutes, I'm wrong. Likely, you will be going right up to the golden ratio, which from here, by the way, my friends, it's like a 40% to 56% pump, and that could happen tomorrow. That could happen the next day. If you're not stopping here, that could happen likely in a very short amount of time. Because again, you are dealing with this divergence. You're dealing with a massive downtrend. You're breaking out now officially. You could continue. But if you get tied up here, which I think you are, that's what I'm seeing in the charts. In case I'm wrong, I've given you the outline for what I'm wrong on, right? Or what to expect if I'm wrong. But if I'm right, you're likely to go to about 30.7 cents. Find support there and then move up. And this probably takes place, I would assume, over the coming week. Maybe it takes a day. Maybe it takes 1 hour and it happens, but I would expect it to happen. And then we move up promptly afterwards, okay? I mean, genuinely, it could be tomorrow. By the end of today, we could close here or below the 382. Tomorrow, you could open up the day moving down there immediately and then move up fantastically as well. You could see this drop and pump happen tomorrow at the same time. So you're just in the process. The real essence of what I'm trying to say here is you're in the process of a move that is ultimately taking you to new all-time highs. Okay, $2, sure, there'll be a stopping point there. $3, sure, there's a stopping point there. $5, sure, there's a stopping point there. But really, you're going up to $10, $13, $18, and probably even more than that by the end of this cycle. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw Edge above $40 by the end of this cycle. But I'm running out of things to say, so I'm going to end it there. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you on the next one. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.